So back to future-proofing the business and learning about innovation. Our next conversation, we're very proud to say, is from one of our key partners, Sabadell B Startup, and we're really excited to learn about how they are engaging with the ecosystem through their open innovation programs. And we have a very experienced panel here to come and tell them some specific examples of who they're partnering with, what they're investing in, what the future of banking looks like for them, and really excited to see how they are collaborating with the Spanish ecosystem, and they've been here with South Summit for many, many years, so we're thrilled to have them back again this year. Can I please warm welcome to the stage Miguel Montes from Banco Sabadell, Igor de la Sota from Cardman Capital, Diego Marcos from Paycomet, and Xavier Capilledas from Nomo. Lovely to have you. Thanks for being here. Cheers. Thanks. Ay, perdón, Gonzalo. Ay, good to see you.
Hello, and thank you for being here to share with us what we are doing and that we believe is not only worth for us, but also to be shared with you to understand how established financial institutions are navigating this era that seems not to be for us. And this is what we don't believe. We are just confronted with a situation where we believe we can take a much advantage to deliver another way of innovation. Let's say connecting ourselves with this opportunity and contribute not only to the innovation that we are delivering to benefit our own institution, but also the ecosystem. We, as incumbents, are also leading the pack in many ways. In many fronts. In our case, we are actively contributing to this ecosystem as a banker. For many of you, we are, with our Sabadell startup, providing since years this new approach of helpful contribution to the development of these new startups. And also, we are benefiting from the installation of a new arm that we were doing some years ago, this InnoCells, which is our, let's say, digital innovation hub and also our corporate venturing arm. With this, we have strengthened ourselves. We have committed to develop and to connect to our current services innovation that will help to develop our purpose, not a new one, the one that we have since ever, which is to be helpful, to be where our customers are, to be whenever they need us, to be helpful and convenient for them. We are going to share in this panel some examples of how we are developing that with our friends Gonzalo Martinez de Azagra, co-founder of Cardman Capital. This is an Israeli-focused venture capital fund in which InnoCell invested last year that invests in early-stage deep tech startups and has facilitated us to access to cutting-edge technology in the Israeli market. It's also with us Diego Marcos, the Chief Technology Officer of Paycomet, by Banco Sabadell, let's say. We acquired this omnichannel payment platform that enables companies to transact worldwide. It was acquired, as I said, by InnoCells last year and has been incorporated in the offering that Sabadell has to impact in this area thousands of clients. And also is with us Xavier Capellades, the CEO of Nomo. Nomo is also by Sabadell, is one of the initial cells that InnoCells was establishing. Is an app that offers tools that allow freelancers and self-employed people to manage their own business and is just built to help. And this is what we are getting from the market. Is very promising, and we are so happy that this is the way that we are connecting ourselves, being the bank for business, to help these customers in a new way. Let's go to give them the opportunity to express how that interaction is also helping, as I said, an incumbent to be connected with the opportunity of the present. To Gonzalo. It's essential for us to be aware of the technological development. Israel is one of the main innovation hubs. We were interested to contact and to connect ourselves with this market. And let's say, on your view, how InnoCell's investment in Cardumen has been able to gain this privileged access to the ecosystem?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'd like to talk first about the result. The result is that in the same way that Sabadell is here today, telling Spain and Southern Europe ecosystem that they're investing, that they're accepting startups, we've helped through Cardumen Capital to come into Israel. What we've basically done is our team came from the investment arm of Samsung. Samsung is the largest electronics company in the world. They've been doing investments and open innovation for 30 years, and we've applied the methodology. Okay, so what does that actually mean? The first thing we've done, we've gone to Banco Sabadell's business units, and we've asked them, and we've done workshops to understand what are their technology gaps. What do they need? What problems do they want to solve? With that technology gap list, we've gone back to Israel. We've searched the market, and already, after a year they invested, we've shown them 100 startups. Of those 100 startups in their areas of interest, Banco Sabadell has visited 50. We have Daniel Sakovic from the InnoCell's team who visited us last year for a month. They were in our offices. Okay, so we introduced them to everyone. They visited. And not only that, we threw a small event to publicize. Sabadell is one of the leading banks in Europe, and they're now looking at Israel. The actual business result is that very recently they have announced their first investment in Israel. It was a deal we brought to them, which we're very excited about, and we hope to be doing more in the future.
Thank you so much, Gonzalo. To you, about PayComet, as I said, we were acquiring your company last year ago. We were so impressed by the capacity that you have had to developing the technological proposition, but we were, let's say, quite afraid about the integration, the challenge to be keeping the value, scaling, but at the same time not changing too much the reality and destroying the value that we were seeing on you. How has been that?
Thank you so much for this invitation here. Yeah, that's true. I'm a tech guy, so the first thing when we, the bank get the company, this was very strange for me in terms of to be a startup and to take all the decisions and to become a part of the Bank Sabadell. It was like, okay, what's next with that? We will be a startup inside the bank, or we will be in part of this elephant, The people from the technology, we always think about the banks of like an elephant moving slow, that doesn't take in the risk, also the opportunities. Seems like from the outside, that's true, but not from the inside. The Bank Sabadell let us innovate, invest in new technologies, give us a lot of, image outside from the bank. They give us a lot of room for to integrate with them in a very smooth way. So for me, it was surprisingly easy to become part of the bank. Because when you become from PayTPV was the name of the company, part of the bank, we must to include governance, compliance, and this is very complex for the technology people, and they help a lot, extremely a lot.
Thank you, Xavier. Creating is quite proper question to every one of the startups. Creating something from scratch is difficult. But let's say, how has helped to be in this ecosystem of InnoCells? How has made that easier or more difficult than the normal difficulties that a startup has? What is the value? And in connection with what you have said, how is the balance? What are the sacrifices and what are the advantages that corporate venturing are providing to, let's say, to an entrepreneur?
Okay, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I think that from my point of view, I think that, first of all, it's a great opportunity, because I think that, honestly, we are creating a unique model, an hybrid model, where we have a real autonomy, a real freedom to build our solution, but at the same time, we are connected and 100 aligned with the core business of the bank. So I think this is very important, because at the end, our final objective is to complement the value proposition of the bank. And we want to create new revenue streams, and at the end, we want to impact in the P&L of the group. And I think that this is very important when we are creating this new model that I'm calling spin-in. We have a spin-off, so we are a new model that is spin-in. Related the benefits, I think that we have many. As we commented before, we have a real autonomy. We have an independent team. I think that it's very important, because we have our own technical team, marketing team, product team, etc. Another benefit is that we have a unique source of funding, and this is also very important. And at the end, I think that perhaps the most important thing is that we have to access to all the commercial network that have the bank. So we have access to the customer base of the bank, and also we have the capacity to attract or grab new users that we want to convert in new customers for the bank. From the point of view of cons that also exist, I think that the two mainly problems, I think that it's, from one side, it's that you have to jump some internal barriers, because you have some internal processes that are thought conditioning in function of the large company, not in function of a small team of 20 people, for example. No? And the second big challenge, I think that it's the culture. No? Sometimes I also explaining that we don't have all the answers. Perhaps in any board, we have more questions, and we are generating more questions in function of the evidence that we are validating. So I think that we have to try to help to the company and the bank to try to change this kind of culture.
Thank you. I also think that in many cases, it is something that depends on the organization, but also something that depends on your side. No? And how has to be chosen the elements that can help on this situation, because for sure is a management of a change process. Gonzalo, how do you think that kind of corporate investment from these corporate venture type of agents can help in your investment process? What is the values, or what are the values that you are facing to have from our cooperation with you?
Great. I think some of them have been mentioned here. I think we can separate also between the actual corporate, the money-making part of the corporate, and then the corporate venture team or open innovation team, a little bit like Banco Sabadell and InnoSales. If I start with InnoSales, InnoSales, first of all, congratulations, because it's a great initiative, but the value that it brings, it's a buffer between the startup, which is fast, agile, and is trying to break everything in the right way, and a slower bank, okay? And they understand startups, and they understand the bank. So they help the startup navigate the company, which is, I think, fantastic. In terms of the corporate, when they invest in a startup, what the startup gets is brand, and brand is key, because it can validate the technology and find other investors that want to invest or to use the technology. It can be a customer. It can be a design partner. When the startup is beginning to create a product or a service, they can be somebody who's telling or giving them the expertise of the market. Okay, so very, very valuable. And of course, deep pockets. And finally, they can acquire. Right? So at Cardamom Capital, we are promoters of co-investing with corporates because we see the value. It is true that there's one small thing, is sometimes the corporate doesn't do follow-ons. They invest one time, and sometimes they don't have the justification to continue investing. So the startup should think about that and understand that it's usually better to co-invest with a financial and a corporate.
Thank you. So quite interesting. Let's say, Diego and Xavi, for both of you that are sharing different structures but a quite similar process, how do you think that this leverage, the vicinity to the corporation, has boosted the process? And what are your recommendations for the ones like us that from the corporate, let's say, established companies, how we can better put our scale and what Gonzalo has already mentioned, our values, to accelerate the process of development of the good propositions like yours?
Okay, from my point of view, it's, the bank, it's related with the technology. All the people must know that the banks have a lot of information about the goals of the customers and the interest in. So it's very interesting to go with the startups, you know, from the bank to know our point of view about the future of the customers, the customer experience, the customer of the payment process in terms of PayComet. We are in the market. We hear a lot of startups. We are innovation every day. So it's very important to hear from the top level of the bank our ideas, and also to provide from the bank another idea of us, okay, take it easy. This is all the things are moving very fast, but think about the future with a very small, you know, a little bit slowly. Because from the startups, normally we thought about, wow, we will span in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, we will go worldwide, etc. And sometimes we need to, you know, think about it. Okay, we have the support, put a good product in the market, become bigger. Yeah.
Good. Xavi?
Fully agree with Diego. Perhaps I think that we have to add the voice of customer. No? Sometimes I think that the temptation of the bank is to decide inside of a meeting room which is the value proposition that needs our customer, and we put a lot of focus that it's not important our opinion. It's not important my opinion as a CEO of Nomo or the CEO of the bank. We want to be very provocative because we want to hear every week our customers, which is their feedback. We need to do workshops with them, why they are not active users in our app, etc., etc. So I think that this is changing all, and we have to put the customer always in the center.
Thank you so much. This is great. As you have seen, this is current situation, so we are avoiding to speak in terms of future. We have already living that reality. We have found ways to incorporate ourselves to this ecosystem, to incorporate the ecosystem into ourselves. We have not changed in the fundamentals what we are, not change what the purpose we are built for. And what we are learning from that is that we are benefiting projects establishing this view for materiality, for importance, for relevance, is not being slow, is being good and great and relevant. And this is what we believe can add to this exercise. Very much thank you for what we have been able to share with you, and so much appreciate your presence here, and also how we are learning by working together with you.
Also, we are learning from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diego.